Call the meeting to order. Kelsey, you might take the roll. Should be late.
Mr. Edwards,
Here.
Mrs. Hutchins,
Here.
Mr. Palmer,
Here.
Mrs. Lee.
So what, motion to move, to approve the agenda that Kelsey has submitted to us? So move. Second. Pandora. Roll please.
Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
Mrs. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mrs. Lee.
Yes.
All right, approval of the minutes. Anyone move? So.
Second.
Pandora. Kelsey?
Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
Mrs. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mrs. Lee.
Yes.
All right, on to the sponsors report. We got Ed here.
I think I reported to you already, we completed the site visit. We're due to turn in the 5-day forecast. Kelsey will be bringing that to you tonight. Then we'll get input from Diane, we get input in for compliance. We've had great communication. We appreciate that from both Kelsey and Ryan, even Gene, Kent's been at some of our collaboration meetings. Ryan mentioned to me about your interest in blacktopping this parking lot over here. We have it getting inspected either tomorrow or Monday to decide. There's like a French drain down under the stadium. When we blacktop it, there'll be less permeation of water down through the stone, and more water is going to run towards the stadium. So we're getting an opinion whether we need to put like a trough French drain up here on the side just to take surface water off before it gets to the lower level. I think it will tie into that pipe. But what's happening now is that will help us because when we get a really hard rain, the stone washes down and they have to clean out that French drain all the time because all that stone washes down. The other thing that's happening is if this house ever becomes vacant, we would be interested because we would want the parking for all the parking in all the area on the north, this side of the stadium. We purchased this little property over here. Right now, we're doing a design build process to have the building removed. There's a monumental stone for a student we lost years ago, have that moved over by the phone jack that comes out of the ground, so it's still there. And then it'll even be closer to the sidewalk, so people walking on the sidewalk would see that memory stone. And we would install stone over here. This parking lot over here doesn't have the downgrade that this one does over here. It's flatter, but then down the road, we would tie all the parking together. We would have like a engineer, a transportation engineer, or someone like Janelle and her tie it all together. And what he's talking about now is right now he uses this for the bus parking. He's talking about putting the ticket booth down here at the end of this lot. And I think he's gonna put the bus parking over here at the place we just bought. So we're kind of re-navigating how we operate for our football and track. But we're looking at doing this lot. I'll have an answer and I'll get it to Ryan as soon as I can, whether we need to add another drain up here to take off that top water. But the board's very appreciative and very receptive if TCS wanted to blacktop. Okay. I'll either have an answer right tomorrow, or I would say Monday or Tuesday. Actually, Josh is the one who will put it in. He's a board member for us. He's gonna go look at it and see how it lays and everything, and see if we should put that like tile lengthwise French drain to go down into the pipe. I mean, it doesn't go that far because it goes right to the duck pond. The goose pond, whatever.
Right.
It used to be a duck pond now.
See a couple ducks every now and then, so. Anybody have any questions or anything for Ed?
We did also meet with Tim Reddick the other day from Noweka here, Dave Subelbein and I did, Kelsey was in that meeting as well. And we did briefly talk about the fiber optic line.
So we're 3.5 miles to the new building site back. And when I was in Finley, we ran our own fiber. The problem that you have with Buckeye, like even in your home, they jack up the prices on you and there's a battle for cable to get connectivity into your house. They do big time for schools. So like right now, we're having a problem in our bus garage and our board office where we're supposed to getting so much bandwidth. What we're finding out at night is 40% of our bandwidth is going away and we're not even using it. So it looks like they're double booking. I mean, I don't know if they are, but some of our bandwidth is going somewhere else, and then when we get busy, we're getting bogged down and locked up where we can't even operate. So at Finley, we ran our own fiber, and then we put the city and the county, and we offered at Blanchard Valley Hospital. So it's only 3.5 miles, we can go on poles, and then when you, it's the dark fiber, when you light it, depending on the brightness of that light, will give you how much bandwidth. So us being able to have unlimited bandwidth into a new facility, when we build our new facility, it's a great thing down the road from our school. Our plan is to come here too and have fibers in what's currently the BOAG, because that's gonna be our shop and grounds and maintenance. We'll have fiber at the football stadium, and we plan on bringing some fiber here. So what we'll do is we'll drop you like 1 or 2 fibers, that'll be enough for you, and we'll just let you guys lease our fiber, which when you look at, Kelsey can pull your bills for what you're paying, and I guarantee you it'll be cheaper and it'll be more bandwidth. And then we even offered, because we turn up here at the intersection, because the village or the Margaret Township wants to put their fire department up there by the cemetery. We even offered them, if they wanted to run their own line up the hill, they could lease a couple fibers off us and jump on our fibers. Amplex is the name of the company. They're actually coming within 5 miles of our building site. They're talking about being willing to come the rest of the 5 miles if I build the next 3.5 miles. And then I'm gonna have about 12 to 14 fibers of their, whatever they put in their van. We ran 288 at Finley. I think they were talking about running like 110, 112 or something like that. So then I would just pay, if I have 12 fibers and 2 of them are going to you, I would pay 12, whatever they have, and you guys would pay 2, whatever they have. And then we would put you guys in the agreement with us because we're your sponsor. And Kelsey can just run the hard facts of what you're paying to get technology in your building, and I show you what you can pay going through us. And the thing is, for you guys, your ability to have unlimited bandwidth and us, that's priceless. And the other thing is, people jacking up the prices on you down the road, that's gone, because it's your fiber, you own it, I mean, it's yours. So I mean, and then we light it up, we'll have a lighting station at our current elementary, the new park, because we'll end up moving our board office there, and then we'll have a lighting station right at Nowaka, which is our ASIN. When Amplex does this loop, they're talking about going up from there to the islands, back to Port Clinton and back to Toledo, and their other one comes down from Tiffin and over this way. When that loop is done, say somebody hits a pole on 101. Well, we'll have an agreement where the company has to get it replaced within 24 hours. But why that's down, if we have a loop, you can just go out the other way because it's connected. And that's what we did in Finley. We did a loop, and the north end we went out to the supercomputer at Chicago State, and the southern end we went to the supercomputer at Ohio State. So when we have both ends covered, we'll never go down. And then we're going to have a service agreement with the fiber, so if someone would hit the pole, they have to get it fixed within 24 hours. It's a no lose. And then you control, like, how do we know how much bandwidth we're gonna need in 20 or 30 years? Look how fast technology is changing. And the thing is, then both of us will have unlimited bandwidth, because all we gotta do is, I mean, if you need it, we're gonna need it. So then we'll just upgrade the light, the intensity of the light, and that's what we.
Awesome, thank you.
On the parking lot across the street, I know you're just saying asphalt. Have you guys thought of concrete though, with the maintenance?
It's just a discussion that took place in our sponsor meeting, trying to think.
And
It was just kind of an initial conversation.
I know I would just kind of throw that out there. Concrete's gonna be less maintenance on the road, and it's probably gonna be really comparable in cost. I don't care who does the concrete or whatnot, but I'm just thinking, hey, it looks nicer, it's less maintenance, it usually puts up a little bit better. For the long term, and it adds property value.
No, I like it, good thinking,
Both options.
for sure.
We don't have, for maintenance purposes, the concrete's better, so but beggars can't be choosers. I mean, if you're helping us out, then we'll take whatever we can get. But, I mean, whatever you guys decide on for will be upset either way.
Coach is right. I mean, the concrete right now and asphalt,
It's really
it's
comparable.
very comparable and you have no maintenance going forward.
If the prices are comparable, I would much rather be managing concrete than black.
Yeah.
Because blacktop, you guys know, you have to seal it. And I would much rather manage.
You're refinishing another how many years?
All right, thank you. We'll move on to public participation. Appears we have none. So we'll move on to board member liaison reports. Jean isn't here. Jackie, do you have anything under finance?
Not at this time.
Dora, professional development, anything?
Not at this time.
Can't sponsor report?
Then a bad sponsor report because I've been farming too much and I haven't been able to make meetings, so.
All right, that's understood. And I have nothing for personnel. So at this point, move on to the treasurer's report. Kelsey?
Start with some informational items. So first, I wanted to update you. I plan on meeting with SCView. I met with them last year, maybe a little over a year ago. Basically, they offer some services where their system syncs with our financial system, and it kind of modernizes your processes of invoicing and requisitions. It makes everything electronic, so you're not having all of the paper filing. It also makes your audit go a little bit more seamless because the auditors just have access to the system. And so they're not coming into the building and you're not having to submit all these paper vouchers and all of that. As we've kind of gotten more strict with our internal controls and I've required the paper requisitions and I've required the tuition reimbursement approvals and all that kind of stuff, our paper filing is increasing a lot. We're getting a lot. And I think the electronic filing is really, it's really going to be the future. I think a lot of schools have already started to move toward it. So I think we kind of need to consider getting on board. I previously thought the expense was kind of a little high, but SCView is really growing and sort of the options that they're offering. So I'd like to sit down with them and hear what they have to say. We're also being told that our kiosk system is no longer going to be an option. It's going to go away by the start of next school year. That's what staff uses to input like their sick leave and that kind of stuff. So we need to find a replacement option for that regardless. The only wrench that got thrown into this is that when we met with NOECA, Tim did say that they're kind of looking to add to our current financial system to basically do what SCP is doing. However, that is probably at least 2 years down the line. So I'm still gonna meet with them. I'm gonna hear what they have to say. And we're gonna kind of, I just wanted to give you a heads up that that might be a recommendation coming in the future.
And that was in an email, right? Or am I wrong on that?
I don't think I sent an email
Okay,
about it.
all right.
This just happened recently. I
Okay.
just contacted SCV like a day or two ago. Next, we've got an update on our employee SCRS expense. So we had approved repaying the employee and employer portions for Sandy Carroll. Betty paid the employee amount via payroll, and then they came back and charged us for interest on it. We thought they might, so I wanted to go ahead and approve the interest payment also, just because we were really specific with approving the amount previously. So I want to make sure we're covered and approve this expense as well. We have not yet paid the employer portion. That's because we normally pay back our retirements, or not pay back, just pay our retirements through our state foundation payment. So we're kind of waiting to see if they're going to add it. They typically can change it throughout the year. If not, we're going to revisit it maybe after the end of the calendar year and see like maybe want us to submit this online. They haven't come back with anything the way that they did with the interest, so we think it's going to be through the foundation payment, but we'll revisit it after the calendar year closes. Next, I've got an update on our earmarked funds. So we currently have, as you're aware, a lot of funds that are earmarked for specific uses. I wanted to kind of give you an update on where our spending is at with those. Our disadvantaged pupil impact aid funds, I'm having a little bit of a hard time with them. We're not currently on track to spend it all, but I'm working on some solutions to that. The issue is that we're also working to spend those old student wellness funds. And if you look at it's included toward the back. The comparison guide, the allowable expenses are almost identical. So anything I can spend out of student wellness could also be DPIA. We're trying hard to spend all of the funds. One thing that I'm considering is taking our SRO expense out of ESSER and moving it into the disadvantaged people impact aid funds. I would like to do that because our ESSER funds have a lot broader uses. We can find other ways to spend that. And if worse came to worse and we didn't spend all of our ESSER funds, that's not money that we already have, so we wouldn't have to pay it back. Whereas the DPIA funds, we already have those, it would end up needing a payback. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and transfer that expense, and then we're working on coming up with more ways to spend it. I'm continuing to code any expenses we already have that fall into the allowable uses, but we only have so many as of right now. We are making progress with our student wellness and success funds. We've spent, as of the end of October, $55,772. You're gonna see some recommendations for further ways to spend those tonight, including the vans, which are gonna take a nice chunk out of them. CTE funds, we've discussed previously that, you know, we're having a really hard time spending those. We are set to get over $1 million this year, so just something I wanna make sure we're still aware of. We don't currently have the expenses to spend $1 million in CTE, so just something I wanna make sure I'm presenting. If you recall with the ARP ESSER fund, there's a requirement to devote 20% toward learning loss, which comes out to, for us, about $599,000. We've spent $390,319. September was $51,000, October was $63,000, so I estimated us low. Instead of we spend $30,000 through August, we would meet the goal easily. So we are definitely on track to meet the learning loss requirement. And as of right now, if you look below with our ESSER totals, we're also on track to spend all of our ARP ESSER funds, so that's good, making good use of that money. On the next page, we have our final fund, our safety grant. So we received a total allocation of $82,525. We've spent $2,125, but we do have a very large expense for the cameras and the wiring in the works. I believe they're coming December 4th to do that, and then hopefully we'll get that expense paid. We have a couple other things that are in the works that you'll see on for approval tonight, including a new system for tracking students' attendance while they're here, with new iPads and iPad stands, some more PA speakers, because right now we do have dead spots where you cannot hear the PAs. We really want to get that taken care of in case of an emergency. And then there's also a new tech subscription with Mosile. This is to give 2-factor authentication and a couple other like security measures for all staff. It's actually going to do us a lot of good because with our cyber insurance, we're currently the lowest tier based on the protections that we have in place. And I believe this is going to bump us up to the 2nd tier, and it increases our coverage by quite a bit. So it's going to be a good thing, and we're going to be able to use safety grant funds for it. It leaves us with a little under $9,000 left to spend before the end of December. Behind that, you'll see I retyped up our plan for our student wellness funds. I had spoken with Diane about what they are spending on just to try and get some ideas, and the way that their plan was presented was very nice, and ours had been a little bit more focused on finances. This is just a little bit more user friendly. It's all the expenses we've already talked about, but I wanted something that was a little easier to understand to upload to the website. So I'd like to approve this version, which I had submitted with my report. Does anybody have any questions so far? Lastly, for informational items, we did cancel our go-to communications account. If you recall, we were in the process of switching over our phone service, so now that that's complete, we did go ahead and cancel that account. Just wanted to make sure the board was aware. There's no other questions. We can move on to the financial reports, so you can go ahead and flip past the minutes. First, we have our cash reconciliation. You can see we ended the month with $7,846,779. If we move on to the disbursements, I just have a few just to point out to you. Down at the bottom, about 3 up, you'll see we had a pretty large payment to Adina. I believe it's our second to last. We should have one more. They very recently finished up the trim work, right? We're done with it.
We have some concrete that we want them to come back and look at, where they need to kind of polish up. Get some marks off the tape that was laid down.
Okay, so they're waiting on that last invoice, I think, until everything has been officially marked complete, but we should have just one more payment remaining. Nothing on the next page. On the 3rd page, second up from the bottom, you'll see to Northern Buckeye Education Council, we paid $2,449.05. This is a yearly expense. I just thought it might look unfamiliar, but this is our managed internal broadband services. So this is for our ERIC funding. We get an 80% discount, and then that's just our portion that is remaining that we pay for. Finally, on the last page of the disbursement summary, about 3 down, you'll see for $21,880. That to Dynex Services, that was our shower renovation, so that's been complete and paid for, and that was with homeless funds. And then a little further down, we've got $14,760, just a reminder that that was the Chromebook purchase that we made with our ESSA funds. Does anybody have any questions over the disbursement summaries? If not, we can move on to our spreadsheet, so you can skip past the outstanding disbursements.
Kimberly Boss is still on there,
What? I know, it's never gonna go away.
the $5.
Won't answer my phone calls. Or emails. I'm actually gonna have you go ahead and rip our spreadsheet off, as well as the page behind it. I wanted to kind of explain. Because we're at the point right now where, the total on the spreadsheet. I'll give you guys a second before I keep chatting away. So you'll see at the bottom of the page, the total for the ending general fund balance for the month of October is $8,644,252. So I just wanted to clarify a little bit because that's pretty far off from what our cash reconciliation was, which was about 7.8 million. So I just wanted to make sure it's kind of clear what I'm presenting. So if you look at the cash summary, which should be next in your table packet. You'll see at the very top that general fund balance does say $8,644,251. But if you keep looking down, you'll see the other funds that are there. So anything positive is money that we do have, it's already been deposited. But if you keep going lower, you'll see some larger negative amounts. So that's our ESSER grant and our consolidated grants that we get through the state. And these are reimbursement-based grants. So these negative amounts are money that we'll apply for reimbursement for, but in the meantime, they do come out of our cash. So if you flip forward a couple more, you'll see at the bottom of the page, so page 3 of 3, you'll see that cash reconciliation amount, the $7,846,779. So that's just kind of the difference between when we talk about the cash reconciliation versus our spreadsheet with just our general fund. So I just wanted to make sure I was kind of thoroughly explaining that. To go back to the spreadsheet then, the month of October was slightly inflated. If you look at the bottom left to the total FTE, there was an issue with BLA, the way it was reporting our attendance. So it was reporting it slightly high. It had us at 430. You'll see for November, we're actually at 390. And that's not just due to withdrawals, that's also due to the attendance being reported accurately now. So it was a little inflated for October. So our payment was definitely higher. You can see our total revenue or profit was $597,308. That's definitely higher than what it normally is. But on the whole, if you look at the expenses on the left, our total percentage at 32.82% is right where we would expect to be. We talked about the supplies are a little high because we paid our curriculum bill up front this year rather than paying it in 3-month installments. Revenue is higher than what we projected, which is always positive. Benefits were just slightly high this month, and that's because we made that retirement payback. So just a little bit increase, but overall in the year, we're still right where we plan to be. Any questions over the spreadsheet? Okay, we can move on to our monthly payment from the state. So I printed both the monthly payment and the summary payment as always. And when you're looking at the monthly payment, if you're in the annual amount column, if you total up the state support and then subtract the transfers, that is the number that you see at the bottom of the summary page. That's where they get the $5,943,298. So they take out the transfers adjustment, but they do not take out our payback, our FTE payback. So on the next page, on the summary page, the 5.9 million you see, that's before our paybacks to the state. If you look on the next page, you'll see October's payment did have us projected higher. Again, that's just because the attendance percentages were slightly inflated. However, we still are coming in at just a little under 6 million. So happy with where the funding is at and the revenue. there's no questions over the meeting, we can go on to the 5-year forecast. So I did provide 2 different versions. The first one on top is the one we're gonna approve. But I wanted to give you a look at what it would look like if we did make a lump sum payback for the total amount that we owe. Just so we could have an idea. But this top one, you'll see, if you look at fiscal year 2024 and the total operating receipts, I've got about 5.8 million. So that's slightly lower than the 5.9 they have us at. I'd like to project it slightly under just because our enrollment can fluctuate so much. You know, at the end of the year, when we have a lot of graduates and our attendance is lower, I like to make sure I'm not projecting us over at all. In the expenses, the very last expense before the total operating disbursements, that's our paybacks to the state. We're currently projected to pay back 418,000. They typically will recalculate that in January, but as of right now, we're projected to pay back 418,000. In fiscal year 2025, you'll see that under new capital outlay, I have 50,000. I set that aside in case we decide to do the parking lot this summer. I just wanted to have funds there since it's in discussion. One other thing I'd really like to note is that you'll see that our paybacks to the state grow significantly higher. Treasurers are notoriously cautious with their 5-year forecasts, so I did not continue to just do 8% every year. I kind of estimated for worst case scenario and had our percentage increasing. It can go up to 12. So I did 10, 11, higher percentages, just in case that would happen. I want us to be prepared to be able to make those paybacks because it is possible. Not necessarily likely, but just in case. You'll also see in the staffing and enrollment, the kind of second section, I was very conservative with the enrollment projection. I did not over project growth. We don't have anything officially in the works for Lorraine yet, so I like to remain cautious. And I also projected increase of staff for 1 intervention specialist and 1 gen ed teacher in case the need would arise. Some other assumptions that are described in the narrative, the paragraphs, are a 15% increase in health insurance each year, which is, you know, for last year that would have been aggressive because it only went up 3%, but there have been years where it's gone up 20%. So I'd rather project it high than come in under it. I've got a $25,000 contingency under capital outlay replacement, just in case of emergency. I'm also, we're also operating under the assumption that we continue to get similar grant amounts. So our consolidated grants, our Title I or Title II, that kind of thing, we're assuming that we're getting similar amounts. And so that grant reimbursement that is assumed, it's based on that, and it's based on the assumption that our current expenses are still allowable. We anticipate they will be. I don't anticipate we get less money, but you never know. Are there any other questions on the 5-year forecast? The last thing I've got on my agenda is a resolution to approve the purchase of services through Ohio Guidestone as presented. This is through student wellness funds. This is for speakers and training on suicide prevention for our students. So that's free at our Erie County location, but for them to go into Sandusky County and Fremont, we have to pay. So we'd like to use student wellness funds to provide those services for our students.
Is that it?
That's it.
I'm gonna get my paperwork in order. I don't like the clutter. All right, so I guess we'll motion to approve items A through G of the treasurer's report. Is there any discussion before we move? All right, hearing none. Would anybody like to move?
Second.
Dora and Jackie. All right, Kelsey.
Mrs. Grant,
Yes.
Mrs. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes. All right, moving on to our superintendent's report. Ryan, you're up.
Okay, thank you. Start off with, we have a review of our enrollment data. As of yesterday, we had exactly 500 students. You can see the breakdown there in the sheet that's in your folder. Fremont continues to be our largest area with 90 students. We have 80 from Norwalk and 54 from Sandusky Current. The second item there under informational items is just a reminder of the need to complete the conflict of interest statements for Margaretta. And I don't know, maybe you have, but Diane Keegan has sent out emails to all the board members. These two documents here, which are completely forward. So if you did not get a chance to complete that yet, Margaretta, as they do each year, needs you to complete both of these documents. And if you need help with getting that to them, I'm glad to help with that. Which, so there's a copy for you to complete. And if you need some time, you can bring it back to the December board meeting. Pass it on at that time. Okay, the third item is just an update from Tim Ward in Reach Success. This handout here that's in your folder gives you a breakdown of kind of what he's done so far this year. You can see he's working with quite a few of our students there. He's got a breakdown for each month, August and November. And this was as of November 9th. He's helping also lead a book club a couple times a month. He's arranging for in-house speakers. We've got the National Guard, the Marines, Terrace State, and also Sandusky Career Center here in Philly to meet students. Off-site, there's been some other experience there. He's assisted with field trip at Terrace State, Future Makers event at Kobe for students, and also Firelands Forward Erie and Huron County Employers Field Trip on November 2nd. He's helping students connect to colleges as well as helping to facilitate our new science testing. If you remember, last year we implemented new science testing. It's an aptitude test that helps identify student strengths and interests for their career. And that got it. In the process, we work with those students to get them the exposure they need down those pathways that align with those aptitudes and interests. You can see there's some other items he's got listed here on the back side of that sheet. Some post-graduation connections for past graduates. He's trying to help them still as well, which is part of our responsibility is to continue to help those who have graduated. He's helping some with job coaching, some entry-level job payment, a few students with job shadowing opportunities, internship programs, and then finally a work advance program as well. So I would encourage you to look that over. And if you have any questions there about the work that Tim's doing, feel free to reach out and let me know that get you some more information.
So those are 18 out of 19 this year graduates.
Let's see,
I read
that of 18 of 19 graduates this year.
This year, I mean, just as it says, right?
Yeah, now he might be overlapping some of those summer graduates, which actually are considered as last year's graduates. Because as of today, I think we have 15 graduates for this specific school year. So he might be overlapping two school years a little bit there.
No, it's fine. I think that's great.
Yeah, that's the state now requires us to try our best to keep track of what past graduates are doing in terms of employment and kind of go back and report that, which is not always the easiest to keep track of everything. Okay, David Stubblebine had shared that he has recently completed a certification for educational technology leadership program. There's a handout here in your folder with a description on that. This is something to help him fine tune his skills as our technology coordinator and help him in that profession and network with other people in the same capacity. Okay, Lorain County. So we continue to have discussions about pursuing an alternate site in Lorain County. Right now, the conversation is mainly with Lorain Community College. December 13th, I have the Vice President of Lorain Community College coming here to visit Townsend, Tracy Green, along with Cynthia Kushner. They're going to come here and visit Townsend and need to learn more about us. There is an interest on their end to possibly work out a partnership there at Marine Community College in the local area. But they want to learn more about us, see our school in action. So they're gonna come here, visit that day, then we're going to go to Sandusky alternate site for them to view that as well. And then we're gonna go out to lunch and have more conversation. So very much looking forward to this meeting here. I think it's gonna open some doors for us to finally establish that location where County we've been looking at possibly doing the last couple of years.
What's the date on that visit?
December 13th.
13th.
Yeah, if you're available and interested, let me know. I think Jean was gonna check her calendar too. So we could have up to two board members present at the same time.
Thank you.
Yep.
I might actually have to look at that night.
And then, the last informational item there, the last few years, we've held a holiday dinner for our staff, and it's been very well received. We'd like to do the same thing this year as well. And, we've had Bone Boys Barbecue, on Bellevue this past couple of years, and the staff loves it, absolutely loves it. So we'd like to do that again for staff this year on Monday, December 18th. We picked that day because it's a remote learning day for students. It would just be a neat day to have that the Monday for our last week there. Now Kelsey has already budgeted that into the budget, so it's not something that would be in addition to our current budget. If I remember right from last year, I think we kept it under $700, so it should be less than $1,000 for that.
Maybe I'll be off that day.
Yeah, you're welcome to stop in. Okay, moving on to new business then. Item 8 is a resolution to approve the award of high school diploma to following students who have recently completed their graduation requirements. Item B is a resolution to approve a contract with North Central Ohio ESC for vision services at a rate of $83 per hour for fiscal year 24 as presented. This is an annual partnership that we have with them for students who do need those vision services. So this is just something that we just need to approve and take care of this evening. Item C is a recommendation to approve the purchase of a new kiosk program from Visit You at a cost of $5,000 as presented. So the current kiosk system that we have right now is limited in its capabilities. It's really not customizable, but this program, we did our homework and looked at several different programs for kiosk programs, which allows us to capture that in-school attendance for our students. And we felt that this program was a good option for us, and it allowed us to have that flexibility to customize it to meet our needs. Item D then is a recommendation to approve the purchase of 10 iPads from Apple for a total of $2,990 as presented. And again, this will go along with that kiosk program to allow us to have those iPads for use as kiosks, both here and at our alternate sites as well. Go along with that, we have the recommendation to approve 4 iPad kiosk floor stands from Amazon for a total of $514.80 as presented. Then item F is a recommendation to approve the purchase of a new convection oven from Websteron for $6,994.80 as presented. If you remember, I had shared some information. Cindy Ojowski and Bob Hamilton had presented to Kelsey and I the request for this convection oven, which is actually a countertop convection oven. It's electric, and currently they've been working off of the gas oven that we have, which we get by with it, but it doesn't allow them to prepare meals as efficiently as they could if they had that convection oven. They had requested a couple of years ago, and at that time we did not move forward with that. Things were a little tighter financially at that time, as well as the ESSER funds. We weren't permitted to use those at that time for that. So this request here would not be using ESSER funds. It would be using general funds. However, this would help them to have more of the equipment that they need to prepare the meals for students, not just here, but also, we're talking 3 locations as well. Although I take that back because we have a cold lunch menu at the other sites, so it'd be more the food that's served here, the hot meals. Item G is a recommendation to approve contracted services then with Firelands Electric to upgrade the electricity in the kitchen to accommodate the use of convection oven at a cost of $2,650 as presented. Item H is a recommendation to approve contracted services with RJ Beck to add additional PA speakers throughout the school building to improve the effectiveness of our PA system at a cost of $5,895 as presented. This is something that we really need to do. We've got some spots that are, you just, with an announcement's made, you don't hear it in certain parts of the building, so. That creates a concern if there's a safety situation where we need to lock down or anything like that. Item I is a recommendation to approve the purchase of two 2024 Dodge Ram school vans. One which is handicap accessible through Bus Service Incorporated as presented, so. This is, I believe, what I sent out. The tentative agenda this weekend had American Bus. This is a different quote, so we reviewed these again today. What we had received from OSC, which is Ohio Schools Council. And we decided to go this route because the turnaround time is like 4 to 6 months to get the vans, whereas if we went with the other company, the turnaround time would be like 9 to 12 months. So that's one of the reasons that we looked at that. Another reason is the van that would be handicap accessible, excuse me, it would have 2 more seats for students as opposed to the ones we were looking with the other company. So that's I guess the 2 of the main reasons why we decided to look at Bus Service Incorporated as opposed to the other one. Okay, the battle was cold here. Are there any questions I can answer?
So part of the reason we need a new convection oven though too, if I do remember reading that email, it was that the meals have to be served at a, hey Gene, have to maintain a certain temperature. I mean, it's part of. So are we saying that we can't do that with the current setup that we have right now?
Well, I think it's difficult when you're running 2 lunches with the current setup and the gas oven. Bob could explain it, but he's doing it daily, but.
Yeah.
Kind of has to have a rotation. He has limited time between the 2 lunches with a convection oven. The convection oven would give him equipment needed to have the meals prepared out more efficiently and to meet their needs.
Okay.
Ashley, did you have anything with that? Because I know you've helped with lunches and with serving.
Right, well, convection oven, as you know, goes a lot faster. It can cook from frozen to done in a timely manner, but he's also down here, so he can't be up there maintaining, rotating and flipping because he's part of the lunch, you know.
The actual serving of the lunch?
Yeah, he helps with that too. And then, you know, we have a quote unquote amount of kiddos, but we don't always know if everybody's gonna eat or not eat, so they might not all. Or more would eat in the first lunch or something, so heating up the food to make sure everybody eats the same amount, it's quicker, plus the stove is kind of getting to the point where it is also outdated, it is all this building.
It doesn't like.
It's-
It doesn't cook evenly. He's got a.
It's older,
It's like cooking on an old grill,
yeah,
right? You get the hot spot and you know where you're
It's-
gonna put your, you know.
yeah. Convection's the new upcoming way to go, and then it just moves fast.
And as far as money, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no way you can wheel that into the wellness for student meals.
I don't, based on the allowable uses, I don't think so. They were pretty adamant that it couldn't come out at ESER, and I tried to kind of spin it, and I feel like it'd be a similar scenario. If I tried to spin it, they'd be like, ah, no.
Yeah, I was just, you know, you kind of
No, hey, that's.
try to spin things in different directions for verbiage to, you
You
know.
can only spend so much.
It
Right.
was a new grant, so I figured
Hey, why
a
not?
new avenue.
Gene, on item I there, I just reviewed these, we have not voted.
Okay, very good.
For the school bands, Kelsey and I reviewed these again today. And we suggested, I'm sorry, we are recommending the purchase of two Dodge Ram bus service incorporated for two main reasons. One is because the turnaround time is 4 to 6 months, whereas the other company, their vans was 9 to 12 months. And then the other reason was the handicap van will allow us to have 2 additional seats in the van, just the way the seats are configured, as opposed to the other van from the other company.
Right,
So we saw those both.
and
as
it made
benefits.
perfect sense to me, just looking at that, at the sheet.
Okay.
I understand that. Is there a word?
Any more discussion, questions? If not, we'll ask for a motion to approve items A through I of the superintendent's report. So move. Kent,
Second.
seconded by Dora. Kelsey?
Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
Mrs. Grant.
Yeah.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Mrs. Lee.
Yeah.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
All right. Do we have a need for an executive session tonight? All right, then. I ask for a motion to adjourn. So moved. By Kent? Second. By Dora. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hear all ayes.
Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Yeah, and thank you, Israel, for pitching in there, right?